5 seconds to go. Start. I admit that handicrafts and cottage industries can flourish only if certain concessions and facilities are offered to them. So far as facilities are concerned, the Government of India has accepted in principle to provide such concessions to these industries as are likely to help them without at the same time affecting adversely the bigger industries. I should therefore think that the real problem is that the question of reserving a field for khadi and handloom industries, khadi has received some impetus by whatever direct help has been given to it by government. Consideration has also been given to the question of reserving a field for khadi and handloom industries so that the element of competition between handloom and mill made cloth is eliminated. I think we have to extend this concession by reserving the fields for other cottage industries as well, so that in those fields bigger industries are not allowed to operate. Till such concessions are given to cottage industries, and as long as heavy industries are permitted to compete with them, it is difficult, if not possible, for cottage industries to grow. But at present, it is the bigger industrial undertakings which are being afforded facilities like concessional railway freights, etc. These are having a bad effect on the growth of village industries. I am afraid the process has not only to be stopped, but in some cases at least it has to be reversed. Let us understand it clearly that financial subsidies alone will not mean much for small scale industries. I know that government has been helping the bigger industries to the tune of crores of rupees, and to be able to do so, it had to impose the burden of heavy taxation on the people. Take sugar for example. To save sugar factories from the competition of foreign producers, government has been subsidizing Indian sugar industry for a number of years at the cost of many crores. Similarly, steel industry in India has had to be subsidized heavily. I see no reason why government should not extend similar help on the same scale to village industries within millions of people benefit from them and get employment because of them. It is no argument to suggest that it is useless to manufacture an article on a small scale when the same article can be manufactured and offered at a cheaper price by bigger industries. Our hesitation to offer certain articles at a slightly higher price would virtually mean growing unemployment for millions and consequently forcing them to starve. We have to choose between unemployment on the one hand and a slightly higher cost on the other. Sir, the important function that the upper house more performs is that it suppresses the separatist forces and affords an opportunity to the states to have their say in national legislation and in fact in the debates in the Constituent Assembly. This aspect was put with great emphasis by the honorable members. The second chamber is essential in a federal structure because the House of People being the representative of the people, obviously the people will have their say there, but the states also should have a say of their own in a democratic constitution, and the Rajya Sabha being a council of states, obviously the states will have a say, and in our constitution we have recognized the importance of the voice of the states because certain constitutional amendments cannot go through unless they are passed by the majority of the states. Therefore, in our democracy, people are the main criteria, but the opinion of the majority of the states on important issues is also an important factor. Whether this aspect will be properly fulfilled by the Rajya Sabha will be dependent to a great extent on the composition and the powers which the Rajya Sabha has in comparison with some of the other second chamber that we have in the world today. For example, the most powerful second chamber in the world today, everyone will have to agree, is the Senate of the United States. The Senate members are directly elected. Their powers are also much wider because the Senate possesses the power of even vetoing treaties which are agreed upon by the President. Rectification by the Senate is necessary before a treaty comes into force, and up till now more than 60 treaties have been vetoed by the Senate. In the United States Senate, each state is represented by 2 members irrespective of its size and population. Now, let us look to another federal. In Australia, the Senate is not as powerful as that of the USA. There are 50 senators and they are elected 10 each from the 5 states. Therefore, irrespective of the size of the population, uniformity is maintained there also of all the senates. Same is the case in Switzerland also, where each state has 2 members. In Russia, where in spite of the divergence and composition of the population and the area, 25 deputies are there from each republic. The only country where this principle is not followed is Canada, and we are following to a certain extent that pattern. In Canada, 120 members are nominated by the Governor General, and 4 provinces have 24 members each, and other provinces have got varying number of members with a minimum of 4. We have to a certain extent followed the pattern of Canada, and because we have accepted the principle of both nomination and indirect election, and also the principle of not having uniform representation. Our principle has been to provide one representative for every additional 5 millions of the population and one for every additional 2 million or part thereof. Why I am objecting and asking for an amendment and asking this House to consider the necessity of changing the present structure. I will just now come to that. In the House of the people, obviously, the House being representatives of the people, the populous states will have more representatives. Nobody can deny it, and that should be the first and basic principle. But unless there is another chamber where the smaller states may feel that they are not overwhelmed by the populous states, I think to a certain extent a situation may arise someday when the smaller states may feel that their problems are not being discussed in the proper perspective as it should be discussed. Obviously, at this moment, I will concede that not only the quantity but quality also counts. But in a democracy, the number also counts very much. Nobody can deny, and in fact, this is one of the reasons probably which prompted all other federal democratic countries like the United States, Russia and Switzerland to have uniformity of the number representing their states. In the United States, we find that the Senate and House of Representatives try to strike a balance of conflicting interests through different compositions conflicting with one another. For example, in the United States, we find that they have got 8 farming states and these states have 47 representatives in the House of Representatives, whereas there are industrial states and the number of their representatives in the House of Representatives is 174. In the House of Representatives, the disparity is there. The industrial states may have a dominating voice and much more time may be taken in discussing the industrial matters, but that has been balanced in the upper house. I feel we should have also a fresh view as to whether the composition of the Rajya Sabha should be changed because of this first principle alone. This should be considered very carefully. Stop.